In the last decade, roughly 1.5 million Latin Americans immigrated to Spain in search of better futures. Peruvians, Ecuadorians, and Colombians in particular were among the thousands who landed on Spanish soil daily, quickly found jobs, and obtained low-interest loans to purchase their homes. But as the Spanish crisis hit, jobs were lost, interest rates on loans ballooned, and immigrants unable to pay their mortgages began being forced out. In the last few years, evictions in Spain have reached their peak, with hundreds of people being forced out of their homes on a daily basis. Nowhere is the crisis more prevalent than in Barcelona, home to tens of thousands of Latin American immigrants, most of them from Ecuador. Correspondent Gerry Hadden goes to Eviction City and sees how residents there are fighting to keep their home where their heart is.
Está lleno de polvo, como no he pasado estos días aquí. Es que ya da un desobligo de no hacer nada. Ayer mismo no salí de mañana y no me regresé. Y al llegarte los días, pues ya, no sé, como que no quieres estar aquí en casa.
For Katia Romero, her husband Alejandro, and their 3 kids, eviction day is tomorrow. The bank will repossess the home this Ecuadorian family can no longer pay for.
El pequeño, pues, en el cole también me han dicho que lo ven bastante inquieto, que se pregunta que no quiere irse de casa, que esta es su casa y que dónde lo van a llevar. Esta de aquí es la habitación de mi hija, con mi hijo el menor. Arriba duerme mi hijo de 5 años y abajo duerme mi hija de 13. Bueno, la verdad que no está, que digamos, bien que se diga, pero nos hemos adaptado a él porque no nos ha quedado de otra.
El trabajo está malo, papá.
Katia and Alejandro came to Spain 10 years ago, drawn here like hundreds of thousands of other Latinos by a red-hot economy.
La verdad que bien, porque había trabajo, se podía mantener a los niños bien. Ya justamente al traernos, pues, nos quedamos, yo me quedé sin trabajo, sin ayudas.
La hipoteca al principio era 940, después con el Euribor que subió a 1200. Pagar una hipoteca de 900 a 1200 y después tienes que pagar 1300, 1400 y la verdad que ya no se pudo tampoco.
De vuelta al banco porque no lo habíamos pagado.
Inside, the phone and heat have been cut off.
Esto cada día yo me conseguí esta madera y lo que hago es esto, ponérsela así cada día y luego bajo esto, pues, y ahí les protege un poco el frío, pero igual la habitación es muy helada.
Home isn't much, but Katia and Alejandro say they won't go quietly.
La verdad que no, tendrán que tumbárnoslas, porque yo no pienso abrir.
Seré un muro ahí en la puerta.
Nowhere has the fallout from Spain's economic crisis been more visible than here in this dilapidated immigrant neighborhood on a remote hill behind Barcelona. Ciudad Meridiana has seen more than 300 families lose their homes in the last 3 years. It's nicknamed today Eviction City.
50 years ago, Ciudad Meridiana didn't even exist. It was just woodlands. The city of Barcelona wanted to build a public cemetery here, but decided against it because it's just too humid. So the cynical joke today is Ciudad Meridiana wasn't good enough for the dead, but it is good enough for migrant workers.
Este es un barrio de inmigrantes. En los años 60 del siglo pasado era inmigrantes del país y en el año 2000 llegan una gran cantidad de inmigrantes de fuera del país.
Manuel Cubero was born and raised in Ciudad Meridiana. He hasn't lost his home, but he defends others who stand to.
Este barrio que mis padres compraron la vivienda en los años 60 del siglo pasado por 1.200 euros y llegaron a vender los pisos por unos 250.000 euros. Como era un momento de locura inmobiliaria, se hicieron verdaderas barbaridades. Aquí se llegaron a hacer cosas como una cosa que se llamaba hipotecas de bienvenida, en las que se daba hasta un 120%. Te daban para la casa, para el coche, para los muebles y para irte de viaje.
For Katia, the clock is ticking. She's filed one last appeal against eviction. Her argument, it's inhumane to put kids on the street. At first, her court-appointed lawyer doesn't answer his phone. But when he does, the news is bad. Her appeal has been denied.
Te veo lista para luchar.
Pues no me queda de otra porque en la calle tampoco me voy a encontrar. Sí, en la calle no me voy a encontrar, en la calle no me voy a ver con 3 hijos que tengo.
Especially not if her neighbors can help it. Cubero sounds the alarm at a neighborhood meeting this same night.
Entonces mañana todo el mundo que pueda bajar a las 9 en el metro y luego nos iremos a eso, a Rasos de Peguera 63, que está en el primer bloque subiendo desde la churrería del campo de fútbol.
The plan, to have a crowd physically block police from entering Katia's building. Cubero says they've stopped 70 evictions in this way, but it's hardly a long-term solution. For years now, citizens have demanded fundamental changes to Spain's eviction laws. Let people hand over their house keys to the bank and walk away, they say. Cancel debts upon death, so kids don't have to inherit them. The national government has so far rejected such reforms, but it is trying to force banks to rent or sell the hundreds of thousands of homes they've repossessed. Across Spain, local authorities, overwhelmed by evictions and homelessness, are celebrating.
Finally, towns have a way to fight back. A new law that allows municipalities to fine banks if they hold apartments empty for more than 2 years. The bank that owns the building behind me is one of the first to face such fines.
The city of Terrassa is leading the charge against landlord banks. Deputy Mayor Carme Laboria has fined 3 banks so far and has a pile of 700 more fines awaiting signature.
Bueno, sentía primero impresión porque realmente pues piensas, estás siendo una medida pionera, ¿no? en el país, pero convencimiento total, convencimiento de que se tiene que hacer reaccionar a estas entidades y el instrumento que tenemos es la ley y poner multas para que nos hagan caso, pues lo haremos.
Banks say they don't want to become landlords, but they need to enforce mortgage rules to survive. Laboria says more than 10% of the city's homes stand empty. Across Spain, there are nearly 1 million vacancies. Laboria says turning those homes into low-income housing could help keep people, especially immigrants, off the street.
La gente mayor, sobre todo, que ya tienen una vivienda o ya tienen una prestación de jubilación, aguantan a muchas familias, a muchos hijos y a muchos nietos sin trabajo, sin vivienda. Claro, si eres inmigrante y no tienes la familia aquí y no tienes esta red social familiar, es difícil.
Ay, ahí va la monja.
But all this is happening too late for Katia and her family. It's eviction day. They wait.
Katia and Alejandro and their 3 kids are very nervous this morning. The police are going to show up at any minute and try to evict them. If the eviction is successful, the Spanish state only offers them a place to store their belongings and 3 nights in a motel. After that, they're on the street.
But outside, a crowd of neighbors is beginning to grow and grow. And then, before noon, the news. Apparently, the police has seen this crowd and backed off. Today's eviction is postponed. Katia and her family dodged a bullet this morning, but all they really want was a little bit of time. With the next eviction attempt, there won't be a warning.
La verdad que es solamente un aplazamiento. Me da, no sé si serán días o meses para yo poder hablar, llegar a un acuerdo con el banco. Tengo que seguir luchando para poder conseguir lo que quiero.
Thanks to Gerry Hadden for that report. With the Spanish economy still in crisis mode, Latin America is seeing a reversal of migratory patterns. In 2011, roughly 370,000 people left Spain. That's 10 times more than they did before the crisis, and many of them went to Latin America. The number of Spaniards immigrating to Chile rose by 144%, to Mexico by 129%, to Venezuela by 114%, and to Ecuador, where Katia is from, by 467%.